ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधा कृष्णपदार सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नम ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। So welcome back to the Sri Harinam Chintamani series, especially on chapter 12 on inattentive chanting, which is called as Pramad. Now, yesterday, how many devotees were in the session, in the class? Can you raise your hands? Yes, let me know so that how many yesterday attended the discussion what we had yesterday. So, I think Virendra Yadav also was there yesterday because he asked me some questions. Okay. So, okay. So those who could not attend the discussion because it is a continuation, you can lower your hands, not a problem. It's a continuation. We have been discussing about these three types of pramad: Jad, Audasin, and Vikshep. Actually, Audasin is first, indifference. Jad is laziness, and Vikshep. So yesterday we had further some more discussion on Vikshep, and we discussed the 5 states of the mind. This is from the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. And Shipta and Vikshipta are, the agitations because of the hyperactivity of the mind, because of the mode of passion and ignorance. And to chant, we have to come to the mode of goodness, ekagrata, and some hints and tips we discussed there. Then we discussed about the different asanas which are recommended. Baldev Vidyabhushan recommends that only meditation is possible when you sit in an asana, and that applies to chanting also. So the Patanjali Yoga Sutras again recommend these 4 asanas as the most comfortable asanas for sitting and chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. in which the Siddhasana is only recommended for those who are brahmacharis or sannyasis. And then we discussed about how the internal battle, the conversation with the mind which we have, how we have to overcome that. In that context, we discussed uh, the opening and closing of the gates. Sarvadvarani Sanyamya Manor Niri Hridi Niruddhacha Murdan Adhayatmana Pranan Asito Yogadharayan. So yesterday we had a elaborate discussion on this opening and closing of the gates based on the mandala here. How our consciousness, if it is absorbed in the outer atmosphere, although we have been vibrating and uttering the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but we are conscious of the atmosphere and we are not conscious of the holy name. So we have to withdraw that consciousness from the outer atmosphere and get it to the body, at least the self. Then we should not be conscious of the body's pain, the body's demands. Then there is the senses and the sense objects. We have to transcend that. Then within the antakaran, that is called as the chitta, there is the sleep time when we dream. So even if you close your eyes and chant, then the mind can wander with the sense impressions which are there in the chitta. It can wander all over the world. We have to transcend that. And then we have to come to the mind. And when the mind is very still, and when we hear Manoridhi, it enters the heart. The Mahamantra enters the heart, and there Chaito Darpan Marjanam happens. So these are the different gates through which one should pass through and ultimately hear the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And only when hears like this, then we get the full effect of the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So this is where we finished our discussion yesterday. So now let us go to Sri Harinam Chintamani. We have discussed 6 and 7, Audasina, Jad and Vikshep. This was practically 2 classes we spent on that. Now let us go from text 8 onwards, 8 to 10. Text 8. So 8 to 10, the theme is, as long as one has not attained anurag, attraction, one must chant the holy name very carefully. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making a very clear point. As long as one has not developed deep attraction or namaruchi, what Bhaktivinoda Thakur uses the term in Bengali, till one has not attained the stage of namaruchi or anurag, deep, one should chant the holy name very carefully to avoid pramad. So that's the point, and that's the theme which he's going to now discuss. Kono bhagya, kono jivera shraddha yadi hoy, tabe teni harinama grahana karay. By good fortune, kono bhagya, a jiva, kono jivera, develops enough faith, shraddha yadi hoy, to take up the holy name. Tabe tini harinam grahana karay. So it is by great fortune that the jiva develops faith. And what is the sign of that faith? The sign of that faith is that he has taken up to the chanting of the holy names. Yatnakari smare nama sankyara sahita tabe nama anuraga hoya ta udita. Yatnakari, one should carefully chant Nama Sankyara Sahita, a prescribed number of holy names. So firstly, he has to, he's very fortunate. Brahmande Brahmita Kono Bhagyavanji. So all devotees who have taken up to the Hare Krishna chanting, they are the most fortunate jivas, not only in this Brahmanda, but in the unlimited universes, because this kind of fortune doesn't come. It's very rare. So, firstly, he is very fortunate and he has enough faith after many, many lifetimes of accumulating Agyat Sukriti. Then that Agyat Sukriti matures into Shraddha in the association of Sadhu Sang, and he takes to Bhajan Kriya, that is chanting of the holy names. So once he begins chanting the holy names, how he should chant? Yatna kari. One should carefully chant. How? Prescribed number of holy names. Sankyar Sahita. So that's why Prabhupada recommended minimum 16 rounds. Prabhupada said minimum, at least. He did not say 16 rounds. So once, if you carefully chant and the number of prescribed rounds, then what happens? Tabe nama anurag, hoya ta udita. Then attraction for the holy name will arise within him. So if you do these two things, chanting carefully, prescribed number of rounds, then attraction will come. Now let's see the footnote. What is the footnote here? One should chant a fixed number of holy names on his tulsi beads. Gradually, the number may be increased. Further, Bhaktivinoda Thakur will give, he'll drop a bomb. What is that number? He will tell in the next few verses. ये पर्यंत अनुराग न होय उदय ते पर्यंत यत्न करी नाम सदा लय. As long as that attraction has not yet arisen, he should always chant the holy name very carefully. So again, he is making the point one should chant carefully as long as attraction has not arisen. So these are the three verses where he has made a point, very emphatic point, that as long as attraction is not there, one should very carefully chant the holy name. So what does this mean? Let us see some of the points. One should carefully as long as one has not developed anurag. Now regarding this text 8 to 10 theme, some points. This is a very nice text which indicates that it is quite uncommon for a jiva to develop enough faith that the holy name alone can save him, that he begins to chant as his prime duty of life. So what is that faith? Faith is that the holy names is the highest process of self-realization. By Nama Taraka, Brahma Taraka mantra it is called. Taraka means that which delivers. So the holy name is going to deliver me. And the primary process or the primary goal of life and the primary duty of life for a sadhaka is to chant the holy names. Here we see the words, by regularly chanting a fixed number of the holy names with special care and attention. So there is special care and attention to be taken, and we have to chant fixed number of rounds. Now, how many devotees here? Praveen Sheth has raised his hand, but later on we'll take the questions. How many devotees here who are attending this session chant 16 rounds? Kindly raise your hands. 16 rounds. We are 17 here and only 4 have raised their hands. 16 rounds. I would like to see. 9 out of 17 still. Okay. 9, still 9. Madan Deshpande also chants 16 rounds, so it is okay. So almost major devotees. So it is recommended. What is this fixed number of rounds? Yeah, you can lower your hands. Here, fixed number of rounds can be two different, you can have two different interpretations or understanding. Firstly, we have a fixed number of rounds where we chant 16 rounds. But again, how many can sit in one go and chant the entire 16 rounds? How many of us regularly sit in one go and, like, say, morning I get up 4:35 and from 5 to 7 or 7:30 I chant my 16 rounds? Oh, there are many devotees. Good. So if somebody can do that, it is very, very good. Now, if you can't do that, if we can't do that, it is always recommended to chant fixed number of rounds in one session, in one sitting. Like, say, morning, it is possible for me to chant 12 rounds or 8 rounds. But usually, ideally, is basically we finish 75% of our rounds. So then chant your 12 rounds and then maybe take another time, quality time, to chant your remaining 4 rounds. So that is ideal. Usually we should chant fixed number of rounds in at least 4 rounds. Not that I chant 1 round and then after half an hour I chant another 1 round, and then in the afternoon I chant 5 rounds, in the evening I chant 7 rounds. No. Better is to chant in a number of 4, in a series of 4 rounds, because according to Shastra, 4 rounds is called as 1 Granthi. 4 rounds is called as 1 Granthi. Granthi means knot. So if you sit in one session and chant 4 rounds, then one knot of the karma knot in the heart is cut. So that is why we recommend that you chant in 4, series of 4, like 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. That's always better. That's why 4 into 4 is 16, and 16 again, double is 32 and double is 64. So that's how the whole calculation is there. So it's always recommended that you chant 4 rounds in one sitting. Not in one sitting you chant 1 round, 3 rounds, and never, it's not recommended to sit and chant odd number of rounds. Even, and that too, in a series of 4 rounds. So that is very important for us to know. So I will take the questions once I finish the discussion. Kindly lower your hands. Let me finish the discussion first. This indicates that the devotee who moves from Vaidhi to Raganuga Bhakti via the mercy of the pure devotee and his determined effort. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur has spoken about, as long as one has not developed anurag, attraction for chanting the holy name, one should chant very carefully. So actually this verse is indicating how a sadhaka moves from Vaidhi sadhana bhakti to Raganuga sadhana bhakti. Now, Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, we know the sadhana, Uttama bhakti has these divisions: Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, Bhava bhakti, and Prema bhakti. And sadhana bhakti itself has 2 divisions: Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and Raganuga sadhana bhakti. And our bhajan or chanting, especially bhajan here means chanting. Bhajan can refer, bhajan has a deep import. It can refer to hearing Krishna Katha, deity worship, but especially chanting. So our bhajan, while we are at the stage of bhajan kriya, is anishtita or nishtita. Anishtita bhajan kriya means unsteady devotional service. And the unsteadiness is there in the devotional service because anarthas are not fully eradicated. So when the anarthas are not fully eradicated and our bhajan is very unsteady, it is at that time Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that one should be very careful. One should be very careful and attentive in chanting his rounds, and he should chant prescribed number of rounds. Because if he is careful and is chanting his prescribed number of rounds, then anarthas will be quickly destroyed. So after unsteady devotional service, which is called as anishtita bhajan kriya, comes nishtita bhajan kriya. Nishtita bhajan kriya begins from the stage of nishta. Nishta onwards, nishta, ruchi, asakti. And till asakti is sadhana bhakti only. But nishta, ruchi, asakti refer to raganuga bhakti. Refer to raganuga bhakti. Raganuga sadhana bhakti, to be more precise. So only when comes to the stage of nishta and develops attraction, deeper attraction for chanting the holy names, then he doesn't commit the offense of pramad or audasin, jad or vikshep. So that's the point here. Now, how this transition from Vaidi to sadhana bhakti, Vaidi to raganuga bhakti happens, let us go into the discussion of Bhakti Rasamrit, Upadesh Amrit. Because in the Upadesh Amrit, this transition from Vaidi to raganuga is being discussed. So I'm just giving an overview here of Bhakti Rasamrit, Upadesh Amrit. So we discussed quite elaborately this in our seminars on Upadesh Amrit. So text 1, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, it is Tridandi Swamir Lakshan, symptoms of a Tridandi Goswami. And it is also self-controlled Madhyam Adhikari symptoms. And text 2 to 4, Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions Madhyam Adhikari Goswami's external dealings and bhakti rules. What are the bhakti rules and what are his external dealings? The bhakti rules are the don'ts. Bhakti Pratikul Shadgun, ending with Atyahara Prayas Prajalpa. And Bhaktir Anukul Shadgun are the 6 favorable items for devotional service, 6 unfavorable, and 6 favorable loving exchanges. So these are the external dealings a Madhyam Adhikari does. Now text 5 to 8, Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions as he practices these bhakti favorable and unfavorable rules and has these loving exchanges with devotees, his vision slowly becomes internal. His internal vision development begins. So Madhyam Adhikari Goswami's vision and internal development. Internal development means Madhyam Adhikari is able to recognize these 3 different kinds of Vaishnavas, Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama. And then he is very careful to not to see a Uttam Adhikari from a material perspective. So that is described in text 6. Aprakrita Vaishnave, Prakrita Drishti Nished. Nished means you are not allowed to see a Uttam Adhikari from a material perspective. Now, from Vaidi to Raganuga, text 7 explains how avidya is destroyed. Avidya vinash o Krishna name anushilanara pranali. What is the bhajan? How one should take Krishna so that avidya is destroyed. So this is text 7. And this is speaking about Vaidi sadhana bhakti. But text 8 is speaking about Raganuga sadhana bhakti. Shri Vraj Brajan Pranali. So let us go to text 7 and see what instruction Rupa Goswami is saying. What is the methodology in which we should take Krishna's name by which avidya is destroyed? Because that is the point being made here, that the devotee moves from Vaidi to Raganuga by the mercy of pure devotee and his determined effort. So let us see what it is. Now text 7. Swat Krishna Macharitadisita Pavidya तोपतप्तरसनस्य नरोचिकानु किन्त्वादरातनुदिनं खलु सैव जुष्टा स्वाद्विक्रमाद् भवति तदगद मूलहन्त्री. The holy name, character, pastimes, and activities of Krishna. Swat Krishna Nama Charitadi. That means names, forms, qualities, pastimes are all transcendently sweet like sugar candy, Sita. Although the tongue of unafflicted avidya, apya avidya pittopatah rasanasya, cannot taste anything sweet. Na rochikanu. It is wonderful that simply by carefully chanting these sweet names every day, Kintu Adarat Anudinam Kalusaiva Jushta, a natural relish awakens within his tongue. Swadvi Kramat Bhavati, and his disease is gradually destroyed at the root. Tada Gada Mula Hantri. Mula means root, Hantri means to be destroyed. So what is this text 7 of Updeshamrita speaking? That Krishna's names are transcendently sweet like nectar. But because we are afflicted by the disease of avidya, just like a jaundice patient who is having the jaundice disease, although he's tasting sugar candy, he feels it is bitter because he has the disease. Similarly, we are spiritually diseased because of avidya. We don't get taste, and that is why, because we have no taste for chanting, we commit offenses, especially the offense of inattention. And that is why Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his verses was explaining one should chant very carefully. But here also you see Rupa Goswami saying, although it is like nectar, the holy name, you cannot taste, na rochikanu. You cannot taste, just like one is afflicted by a jaundice. It is simply wonderful that simply by carefully chanting these sweet names, Kintu Adarat. Now mark these words of Rupa Goswami, Adarat. Adar means respect. Now here's a meditation. How would he receive a very important personality when he comes to your house like a spiritual master? You will offer him respects. You will offer him padya for washing his feet. And then with worship at your door, you'll invite him. You will put asana. You will take care of all comforts. You will be carefully attending to his needs because it's my spiritual master who has come to my house. So with great respect and great attention, you will cater service to the spiritual master. Similarly, when we call out Krishna's name, Krishna actually comes because Krishna is there present in the name. Krishna has taken Nama avatar. Kali Kale Krishna Nama avatar. So that is why, because we don't have this realization, we are inattentive and we commit offense. But if you have this kind of a meditation before you chant your rounds, that actually I'm inviting Krishna into my heart, and by calling out Krishna's name, and I will with great care, with great respect, with great attention, chant my names, chant the name. So that is what is into Adarat. So we should do this so that we can avoid pramad. Anudinam, we should do this every day. That means fixed number of rounds chanting every day, so that we are committed and we can cross anartha-vritti. Because in unsteady devotional service, one day one is very enthusiastic, second day he is more. So the mind are there, don't care. I will every day chant fixed number of rounds, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur is recommending. So then what will happen? Rupa Goswami is saying, a natural relish awakens within his tongue. So then if you do these two things slowly, rag or taste, ruchi will awaken. Swadvi kramad bhavati, and the disease will be gradually destroyed from the root. So here is the same point Rupa Goswami is making in text 7, what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making in his Harinam Chintamani. Next verse. Tannam Rupa Charitadi Sukirtananu Smartyo Kramena. Oh, it's not able. Okay, let me change the connection. Okay, is it audible now? Is it clear? I hope it is audible now. Yes, okay. Yeah, so text 8. Now it is text 8. Smartyo kramena rasana manasi niyojya tishtan vraje tad anuragi jananugami kalam nayeta khilam ityupadesha saram. This is the essence of all advice. Ityupadesha saram is that one should utilize nayet, one's full time, 24 hours a day, kalam akilam, in nicely chanting and remembering. Sukirtananu smartyo kramena, the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes. Tan nama rupa charitadi. Thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind. Rasana manasi niyojya. In this way, one should reside in Vraj, Ishtan Vraje, and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. Tad anuragi jana. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees, Anugami, who are deeply attached to his devotional service. Tad anuragi. So, if we do this, what is mentioned in text 7, Adarat Anudinam, very careful, very with great respect and fixed number of rounds, then we will develop taste, rag. And we go to Raganuga Bhakti, which is being discussed in text 8. So when we go into Raganuga Bhakti, what to do? One should remember Krishna's name, qualities, form, pastimes by engaging the tongue and mind. The tongue should be engaged in only vibrating the mantra and taking Krishna Prasad. The mind should be fixed in remembering Krishna. And then one can contact the spiritual world, be in Vrindavan consciousness. Either one should reside physically or mentally in Vrija and follow the eternal associates there. And for us to follow the 6 Goswamis and our spiritual master also. And like that, one should, one starts practicing Raga Bhakti, Raganuga Bhakti. Raga Bhakti is attraction, one develops attraction. So this is the same point which Bhaktivinoda Thakur is emphasizing. Now further, some more points are there, and then I will take up questions. If one is serious about going back to Godhead, one must take the advice given in this text that one should chant a fixed number of rounds and increase that number with time. So fixed number of chanting is important, and slowly when the taste awakens, the number of rounds also should be increased. The reason for the increase is to remove anarthas more rapidly from the polluted heart, Chaito Darpana Marjanam, to cleanse the mirror of the heart and to make the spiritual world into a conscious reality. The Maha Mantra is our only hope in this matter. So why we should increase the rounds? To remove the anarthas and to cleanse the heart quickly so that we contact with the spiritual world. Here the contact is there, to serve Krishna and the guidance of their devotees, contact with the eternal associates. So we become attracted to particular rasa, Sakya ras, Vatsalya ras, or Madhurya ras, or Dasya ras, those eternal associates who serve Krishna. So that is how the contact is established. Nowhere in the Shastra does it mention that the spiritual master cleans the mirror of the heart for a devotee. Only that he leads a disciple to chant and the Mahamantra cleans the mirror of the heart. So this is many misconceptions devotees have when they take initiation. They think that the spiritual master has initiated me. Now my spiritual master will take me back to Godhead. But the spiritual master gives Nama Tattva. He gives especially Sambandha Gyan. He gives knowledge about the holy name. So ultimately, the disciple has to chant, and the Maha Mantra cleanses the mirror of the heart. The formula is the more rounds we attentively chant, the more we become purified. The spiritual master has the power to give Krishna, but he will not do this if the disciple is not serious about chanting the Lord's holy name. The spiritual master will give us Krishna. Krishna say Tomar, Krishna deite paro. Narottam Das Thakur says, Tomara Shakti Ache. But whether the disciple has the adhikar to possess Krishna, if he is not purified in his heart, then he doesn't have the adhikar. And for him to get purified, he has to chant the holy names. So that's how the connection is. Srila Prabhupada often quotes, the Lord helps those who help themselves. Now, any questions till now? Okay, I'll take up few questions, stop here for the discussion. There is some more important points, but I will stop here for questions. Praveen has a question. Yes, Praveen Prabhuji.
No question, Prabhuji. Hand was raised before.
Okay, fine. Maya Narsim Prabhuji, what is your question?
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Prabhu Dhanat Pranam. Prabhuji, you mentioned verse 7 and verse 8, and you made it as a transition from Sadhana Bhakti to Raganuga Bhakti.
Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti to Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti.
Yes, Prabhu, correct. Correct, technically. Prabhu, in that context, I heard like from one of the Swamijis in ISKCON, they're saying that actually we are followers of Raganuga Bhakti only, because we are following a Vrajavasi Prabhupada, and in that context, whatever devotion we are performing, it is technically can be called also as a Raganuga Bhakti.
We are following the Ragamarg. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give the Ragamarg. Prema Rasa Niryas Karite Aswadan Ragamarga Bhakti Karite Pracharan. So he has come, and that is primarily by chanting the holy names. But initial stages of our devotion, sadhana bhakti, is we follow the rules and regulations of bhakti. And when one is impelled by the rules and regulations to practice his bhakti, that devotion is called as Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Now, with the purification of the heart, one is impelled not so much by the rules and regulations, but lobh. Lobh what? The lobh to attain the bhava what the Vrajvasis have. I want to attain this similar mood of devotion, how the Krishna's friends practice devotion to him. So that greed, impelled by that greed, he starts following in the footsteps of the eternal associates. Then he practices, his devotion is called as Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Now we should remember and have a clear understanding of this, that even while we are practicing Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, we have some attraction. We have attraction for hearing Krishna Katha, we have attraction for attending festivals, we have attraction for chanting a little bit, not otherwise we would have not continued the practices. But strictly speaking, sadhana, practicing Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti is only when one crosses the stage of Nishtha. There is adhikar for that. That adhikar comes only when one crosses the stage of Nishtha. Before the stages of Nishtha, we are practicing Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti impelled by the rules. But at Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, the heart is purified and the greed, the spiritual greed awakens. And then one is no more impelled by the rules, but he is impelled to attain a particular mood of a particular Vajvasi. And now he practices his devotion impelled by that greed, but again, following the dictates of the Shastra only. He doesn't start speculating. No, he more seriously follows the Shastra, but he is more impelled by the greed. So that's how it is. It's a very elaborate topic, but that's what briefly we can say about it now.
Prabhu, adding to thank you so much, Prabhu, for your that wonderful clarification. Further, Prabhuji, even in sadhana bhakti, it has been recommended that we need to cultivate some feelings for Krishna, that some sense of gratitude and some sense of respect and feelings. Otherwise, sadhana bhakti also can become completely mechanical. Out of fear, we may practice bhakti. Is it all right, Prabhu, that way?
It's not that something we should artificially, have these things. Just by practicing, the gratitude, these qualities like Shubhada qualities, which is mentioned, like mercy, gratitude, humility, slowly to certain degree manifest in us, and it is natural. Even a new devotee who has come to devotion, he will manifest these qualities because he's following the four regulative principles. There's no doubt about it. So it's not something to be artificially cultivated. It naturally follows with the practice of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti also. Is it clear, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu. So only point is that sometimes we forget that aspect of practice of bhakti. Like sometimes it requires for us to reintrospect that we need to be grateful and we need to be, having some concern for the Lord, what He's doing in our life. So for that regard, I asked Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay, in that regard, then whenever that such need is felt, you'll have to refer to those books which speak about Vaishnava qualities, Vaishnava compassion, Satsarup Das Goswami Maharaj has written. So then, or particular sections and themes in the Bhagavatam or the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the prayers in the Bhagavatam. So that time you'll have to focus on that. When you feel that need, then you'll have to focus that. Just like, if lust is more troubling me, then let me read third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is speaking about Kamesha, Krodesha. Or let me read the Ailya Geet, which is mentioned in the 11th canto of King Pururava, or the 9th canto. So when you feel that need, then you refer specific sections of the Gita or the Bhagavatam or the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So similarly, when you feel these qualities are lacking in me and I have to work on it, then you focus on those sections of the Gita, Bhagavata or Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, so further some more points are there with respect to these verses 8 to 10. Yeah. Now, hear very attentively. This is very interesting discussion. The mind is such a machine that as one thinks, so shall one act. So we know this thinking, feeling, and willing. First we think, I should do this today. And then the feeling comes, I must do it. And then one acts. So as one thinks, so shall one act. Therefore, if one is constantly thinking in material ways, then one will always dwell in the material realms, as that is where material thoughts dwell. So if one is constantly thinking in material way, then he's caught in the material realm only, and his thoughts are also material. After thoughts come actions, and when material actions are performed, reaction is there. This is called karma. Karma is the law of action and reaction. So thoughts are also in one sense actions. One thinks, I should harm him something, and you might get a reaction also. You might suddenly hit your leg somewhere and you might get a reaction. So even at the thought level, there is action, and you perform some karma, and then you get a reaction. So there is at thought level, and from thought you can physically do actions, and then you get reaction. This is what is called as karma. Karma therefore means one must perform another action via being given a reaction. Reaction means another action. Hear this and try to understand what this statement means. Karma means, therefore means, one must perform another action via being given a reaction. And reaction means another action. So re and action. Now to understand this, let us take an example of a director who is shooting a scene where the hero and heroine, is shooting, and the hero, he says the cameras are on. He says take off or something. They do that, and then he performs the action. But according to the director, who is there sitting and next to the camera and is observing, the hero has not performed this action properly. So then he says, retake. Once again, perform this action. Because that action was not performed perfectly. So because that action was not performed perfectly by the actor, he says, retake. So he again performs that action. So that again performance of action is called as reaction. One must perform another action via being given a reaction, and reaction means another action. So I hope this point is very clear. And what is the purpose of being given a reaction? It is that one may be given an opportunity to correct the first action. So this actor performed that act and he did not fully put his heart into it. And that's why it did not come up clearly good in the camera, in the recording. So he says, once again, perform it. So why he's told to perform it once again? Because he's given a chance to correct his first action so that he can perfectly perform that first action. When one's actions are mundane, now the discussion here all was because material thoughts are there. When one's actions are mundane, a reaction, karma, is needed in order to give a second opportunity to use the Lord's chit potency in order to serve the Lord via dovetailing the material energy in service of the Lord. So when the action is mundane, we are given another opportunity to perform that action so that we can dovetail fully the energy of the Lord in the service of the energetic. Maybe, again, to give you a very simple example, you have been given a DT backup service and you come and, oh, you are very grateful that the Pujari has given you this service. But you come with the expectation that, oh, I'll do this service so that whatever is offered to the DT after the Lord has his bhoga, after I perform this service, I will get mercy in the form of Krishna Prasad. Of course, it is not something material, but still, you come with the desire that I'll get some fruit for my service of DT backup. So, your full energy is not exclusively used for Krishna's pleasure without desiring the fruits. Because pure devotion means anya abhilashita shunyam. It should be having no other desire except the desire to please the Lord. So when we don't do this activity, then we fully don't experience bliss in our service. So what is devotional service? We, in the sadhana stage also perform the same activities of doing DT worship or doing DT backup. And in Bhava Bhakti also we might do the same service of Archa Vigra Seva or backup or chanting the holy names. But in Bhava Bhakti, the chanting of the holy name is at a different level compared to Sadhana Bhakti. In Archana, at Bhava Bhakti is with full devotion, full spiritual emotions. In Prema Bhakti, it is at a different level. So devotional service means doing the same activity with higher levels of perfection. So that is the point here. Now, with respect to this, I'm going to discuss few verses of Bhagavad Gita, which will make this point very, very clear. And after I discuss these verses, then if you have questions, you can raise your hands. We might take few minutes more also here. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, especially when Krishna told Arjuna that I gave this knowledge to sun god, Vivaswan, and then Vivaswan gave it to Manu, Manu gave it to Ikshvaku. That's how it is coming in the parampara. And now, Arjuna, I'm going to give this knowledge. Arjuna says, wait, and your contemporaries, how can I understand that you gave this knowledge to Vivaswan? How I should understand this? Then Krishna, from practically 4.5 to 4.15, this section is called as the Avatar Tattva, where Krishna gives knowledge about the Avatar Tattva, that I am Ajo and I come in this world to establish Dharma, and I don't get bound. Na me karmani limpanti, na me karma phala spruha. I don't have any desire for karma phala. Iti yo abhijanati karmamir na badhyate. Those who understand this truth about me and they do devotional service to me, they also don't get bound in karma. So Arjuna, you're not going to get bound in karma by fighting this battle because you're doing it for me as pure devotional service. Don't be worried, because Arjuna had this fear that I will incur sin if I fight this war. Then Krishna goes on to explain what is karma, what is vikarma, and what is akarma. That is 4.16, 17. And then he says in this verse 4.18, Karmani akarmaya pashet akarmani cha karmayah sabuddhiman manusheshu sayukta krishna karmakrit. Now I'll not go more deep into actually the discussion of these Bhagavad Gita verses, because I'm just discussing these verses in the context of our previous points in the slides. Karmani akarma yah pashet. One who sees inaction in action. Karmani means you're doing actions for Krishna's pleasure, but because you're doing exclusively these actions for Krishna's pleasure, there is no reaction. It is as good as a karma. There is no reaction. So that's why one who sees inaction in action. Akarmani cha karmaya. One might see action in inaction. What is action in inaction? A yogi, or especially these munis in the Buddhist sect or in the Jain sect, they have a conception that if we perform any action, there is reaction. So I will not do any actions. So they perform severe austerities. So they might be renounced, highly renounced. They might be, plucking their beard by hand, plucking their hairs, doing severe austerities. And they don't even breathe, they, have a mask. They think that, if we intake air while taking, a lot of Jeev Jantu are killed. So I will get reaction. So you might see this person as though he's highly renounced. He's not doing any action in this world. So he is not doing any action. He's as good as there is inaction. But because invariably, even if he's walking, if he's breathing, there are living entities which are killed. So there is action. So one who sees action in inaction, karmani cha karmaya, is intelligent among men, sam manusheshu buddhiman. He is qualified for liberation, sayukta, and has performed all kinds of, and has performed all actions. Krishna karmakrit. So this person is intelligent who understands that actions performed for Krishna's pleasure are as good as not performing any actions, because those actions don't have reactions. But those who fear reactions and don't perform any actions, thinking they are renounced, they are actually performing actions. He's intelligent, so he's linked, he's yukta, and Krishna means he engages all actions for Krishna's pleasure, because he will not get bound. So this is the important verse he speaks here. Now, how to be linked and perform all actions, in what consciousness? Krishna speaks in few verses. Yasya sarve samaramba kam sankalpa varjita jnanagni dagda karmanam tamahu panditam buddha. The wise say, Buddha ahu, that the learned, tam pandita, who engaging in all activities, yasve sarve samaramba, he engages in all activities. But how? But being devoid of the desire for enjoyment. Kama sankalpa varjita. So that devotee who was given the backup service, he had a desire that after I do the backup, I'll get some, fruit in the form of some prasad. Or while doing the backup service, he sees, oh, there is special halwa, let him keep it aside. Later on, after I do the service, I will have this. But anya abhilashita shunyam, that is kama sankalpa varjita. What happens when we do these actions like this? Jnanagni dagda karmanam, has burned up all actions by the fire of knowledge. So when the actions are pure, there is no reaction. When there action, there is some mundanity in it, you will get a reaction and you will have to re-perform that action. Then next further Krishna says, Tyaktva karma phala sangam nitya trupto nirashraya karmani abhipravrittopi naiva kinchit karoti sa. Though intently engaged in actions, karmani abhipravrittopi, is fully engaged in actions. But what? Having given up the desire for the results of action. Tyaktva karma phala sangam. But in his heart, he has given up the desire for any phala, the results of action. Being always satisfied, nitya trupto, non-dependent on others, nirashraya. He has not taken the ashray of the phala. This person does nothing at all. Naiva kanchit karomyata. So what is naiva kinchit karoti saha? He is doing all actions, but you see them that he is not doing any actions, because all his actions don't produce any reactions. It's a karma. A karma. A karma means actions which don't produce any reactions. Further, Krishna says, this is on still higher level. Nirashir yata chittatma tektva sarva parigraha shariram kevalam karma kurvannapnoti kilbisham. Having given up all sense of taking from others, tektva sarva parigraha, free from possessions, Prabhupada says, being without desire, nirashira. Asha means desire, nirashir means no desire, and controlled in body and mind, yata chittatma. So Baldev Vidyabhushan explains yata chittatma is in the yoga stage. There is the yoga ruda and arur ruksha yoga and yoga ruda. Yoga ruda is the higher stages, dharan, dhyan, samadhi. And for us as sadhakas, it is the stage of nishtha, because in the stage of nishtha, the mind and body are completely controlled. Performing acts, kurvan karma, only to support his body, shariram kevalam, he does not incur sin. Napnoti kilbisham, no reaction. That's what reaction, there is no reaction. Yadrichalabha santushto dvandathita vimatsara sama siddhav asiddhaucha kritvapi na nibadyate. Satisfied with what comes of its own accord. Yadricha labha santushta. So when we do actions, we will get the fruits, but will not be affected. Whatever comes or doesn't come, both ways we are santushta. Very difficult state of consciousness. Free from dualities, dvanda atita. Dvanda atita. Atita means transcended the dualities. Free from envy, vimatsara, calm in the face of success or failure. This is very, very important. Siddha, asiddha. sama. Though engaging work, kritvapi, that person is not bound. Na nibaddhate, that person doesn't face reactions. So you can understand how this gradual actions which don't lead to reactions at higher levels from 4.19 to 22 is being discussed by Krishna. Now in the next verse, what happens? Gata sangasya muktasya jnanavasthita chetasa yagyayacharita karma samagram praviliyate. Devoid of the desire for results, muktasya, free from attachment, gata sangasya. Prabhupada says transcended the three modes. Prabhupada speaks about the transcendental state here. Absorbed in knowledge, jnana avasthita chetasa, because he is in full knowledge. His chetana is fully fixed in knowledge and engaged in actions of yajna. Because he is performing these actions for Krishna's pleasure, Krishna is called as yajna, as it is mentioned in 3.9. Tadartha karma kaunteya mukta sanga samachara. He does not acquire karmic reactions. Samagram praviliyate. And the last verse is this verse, which is a very famous verse. Brahmarpanam brahmavir brahmagno brahmanahutam brahmevatena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. The obligations consisting of Brahman. So here the obligations are our senses which are engaged in Krishna service. With Brahman as the ladle, Brahmavir. Actually, it is speaking about the concept of yajna, but we will not go into that discussion. Is offered in the fire, which is Brahman, Brahmagno, Utam, by the person who is a Brahman, Brahmana. The person Brahman attains Brahman. Brahmane eva tena gantavya, by being absorbed in actions of Brahman. Brahma karma samadhina. So here, the absolute truth is called as Brahman. Now, in a yajna, physical yajna, there is a yajna kunda and there is a Brahmana who performs the yajna. So, Brahma Arpanam means what is being offered in the yajna, like the ingredients. Then Brahma Havi. Havi means the ladle. Ladle is, the spoon which the yajna is performed. And where it is offered? In the fire. The fire is also Brahman, because fire is the mouth of Vishnu, the yajna. So we see all the ingredients, like these are energy of Krishna. They are completely spiritual. The ingredients are spiritual. The fire is spiritual. The Brahmana, he realizes I am spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. And he does this yajna to attain Krishna. Brahmena tena gantavya. And he does these actions in full Krishna consciousness. Brahma karma samadhina. So as also 3.30, Mai sarvani karmani sanyas adhyatma chetasa. Do all actions for me. Sanyasa, without desiring the fruits. Adhyatma chetasa, adi atma chetasa. With this consciousness that I am spirit soul and I am doing this actions for Krishna's pleasure. So that's how at this stage, all our actions completely become spiritual and there is no reaction. So these are the verses from 4.18 to 24, which discuss that there is, when the action is not fully pure, then there is reaction. And when it is fully pure, then there is no reaction. And that's why we discuss these verses. Now, last point in the slide is there. In this way, until one's actions are 100% pure, a reaction will always be given. The purpose of all reaction is that one may be given another chance to perform that action until that action is 100% pure. When one has connected with the spiritual world even once, he is assured of gaining entrance into that place. Therefore, it is said that one who has chanted the holy name even once is sure to go back to home, back to Godhead. Now, once means Shuddhanam. pure name. So Srila Prabhupada spoke once about Haigreve. Haigreve is Howard Wheeler, was a professor who initially joined. He was one of the first devotees who joined Srila Prabhupada, and he was editing Srila Prabhupada's books. And he has written the book called as the Hare Krishna Explosion. There he writes his experiences about his beginning days and his visit to Vrindavan also. So in Vrindavan, Haigreve Prabhu was absorbed in chanting the holy name, and suddenly he was taken by a surge of spiritual energy, and he chanted Shuddhanam. And somehow later on, he was disconnected from the moment. He was not practicing spiritual life. But at the end of the life, again, somehow he came back and he left this world. And Srila Prabhupada had said that once in Vrindavan, he chanted Krishna's pure holy names. So he'll definitely go back to Godhead. So we should chant that Shuddhanam, or we should do that pure action when there is no reaction. In many purports to the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada informs us that all actions done under the direction of the Lord, that is under the spiritual internal potency of the Lord, yield no reaction, either in this life nor the next. That means such actions are perfect and enacted from the spiritual stratum. No reaction is needed when perfection is already attained. So this is how there are a few important points with respect to this. To increase chanting allows a sadhaka to simultaneously cleanse his heart of material desires and to get to know the inhabitants of the spiritual world whom he wishes to spend eternity with. So increasing our chanting helps to purify the heart, and as I mentioned, at the stage of Nishtha, one develops a particular mood in which he would like to practice his devotional service, and he will try to emulate the mood of the eternal associates. Along the path of progression, the sincere sadhaka will become alert of his thoughts and learn to control them by placing his attention on the holy name. Preceding with caution, his daily rounds for quality enables the sadhaka to nicely serve his spiritual master and to progress to the stage of anurag, spontaneous attraction for the Lord. So this is a few points based on the discussion of what Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentioned about anurag, as long as one doesn't attain anurag. So he attains anurag quite elaborately from these verses of the Bhagavad Gita and some of the points in the slide we discussed. Now, any questions you have regarding this, you can raise your hands. Any questions, any clarifications? Virendra Yadav Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, this the verses which you mentioned, this Bhagavad Gita 4. I mean, those verses you mentioned, these basically are pointing for Karma Yoga, and we see that our devotional services also, I mean, it aligns with these activities only. So, how to differentiate whether, I
got a question.
Thank you.
The first 6 chapters are speaking about Karma Yoga. The middle chapters are speaking about Bhakti Yoga. The last 6 chapters are speaking about Jnana Yoga. But Gita, we don't accept only the middle 6 chapters. We accept the Gita in full. So Karma Yoga is what? Ultimately, we perform Nishkam Karma Yoga to attain liberation. And that's why Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga is discussed in the 5th and the 6th chapter. But Karma Yoga, with the desire for liberation, the principles of Bhakti Yoga remain the same. Doing actions not for attaining liberation, but for Krishna's pleasure. That is pure devotional definition. So the principles of the Gita can be applied although it is Karma Yoga which is being discussed, the same principles also apply in Bhakti, but for a higher purpose, that is not for liberation. We don't do these actions for liberation, but for Krishna's pleasure. Then it becomes pure Bhakti Yoga. So these principles we can apply in our devotional practice also. Is it clear? I hope it is clear, Virendra Yadav Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Any other questions before we just summarize what we discussed today? So I'll just summarize. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur in verses 8 to 10 speaks about one should chant very carefully the holy names as long as one has not attained anurag. Anurag means attraction for chanting or nama ruchi, what he calls. And he should chant prescribed number of rounds. And if he does these two things, chanting carefully, prescribed number of rounds, then action arise. And when attraction has not yet arisen, he should be careful to chant the holy names. And in this context, we discussed from the slides that this anurag is what? That fixed number of rounds chanting is one as faith, and this fixed number, what it means, 4, 8, 12, 16 we discussed. And if we do that, we move from Vaidhi to Raganuga. And what is Vaidhi sadhana? We discussed text 7, where here the same words Rupa Goswami is using, Kintu Adarat Anudinam. Chant with respect and carefully. Anudinam is fixed number of rounds. And we gave a beautiful metaphor to chant with respect, just like you can visualize that your spiritual master is in your home and he's observing you while you're chanting, so that you pay full attention to your chanting and we avoid pramad. And then we will move to Raganuga Bhakti, which is explained in text 8. Then further we discussed that chanting more number of rounds helps us to become free from anarthas, and spiritual master doesn't cleanse the heart, it is the holy name. And that is why we have to chant attentively to become purified, and then Krishna will manifest by the mercy of the spiritual master. And then we came to this point of how the mind thinks and acts. And if the thoughts are material, the actions will be also material, and then there is reaction. This is called as karma. Karma means reaction to correct the first action. In that context, we discussed verses 4.18, 19, 20, 21, and 22, and 23, where gradually Krishna is explaining how one should do his actions so that he doesn't get any reactions. And when we do actions which are 100% pure, there is no reaction. And then we connect to the holy name, which is Chintamani. And we can go back to the spiritual world. Prabhupada speaks about this. And then we discussed when the heart gets cleansed, then slowly our mood of devotional service awakens and we try to emulate the mood of the eternal associates. That is where Raganuga Bhakti begins. So that is Raga Bhakti. As long as Anurag has not developed, we should be careful to chant attentively with respect so that we don't commit pramad or inattention in our chanting. So that's in brief what we discussed today. So we'll stop here. Sorry, we were 10-15 minutes a little late today because I had to discuss those series of verses. We could not, we had to finish that discussion. Shri Harinam Chintamani ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki Jai, Hare Krishna.